To be read. As we cast our gaze into the final 2 months of 2024, it is time once again to consider which books will make the final cut for the year and which books will be put on the back burner for 2025. To be read. November and December are a time for both family and found family. A time when the selections of what to deliver to viewers who may have some time off of other obligations to watch more BookTube. To be read. A time to share what literary travels through time, space, and fantasy we are bound for and which companions will be joining us along the way. To be read. A time to introduce all new guest star book reviewers for future BellTube episodes. To be read. So what books will make the cut before the end of the year? We may never know the answers to these questions. Oh wait, yes we will, and that's coming up right now. So about a month ago, I decided, I think I want to do these TBR videos quarterly rather than monthly. It just leaves much more space for more compelling content for me to create on the channel. So today what we're going to do, since we're already mostly through October, we're just going to do the November and December TBR, getting us to the end of the year. Then come January, I'll do a first quarter TBR and so on and so forth. You guys are smart people. You will get it. All right, the first book that we have coming up in November is something that I've been waiting for, 10 years, 11 years, 12 years. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's finally arrived, and that is The Winds of Winter by George R.R. I think this is, this better be a confirmation call. Hello? You're to confirm, right? That it's coming out. It's not coming out. December? Okay. All right, well, I already started this video, so it's going to be mentioned. Okay, okay. Hey, the Targaryen mini golf course, yeah, the Drogon head that they're going to hit the ball through, they're having all kinds of problems with it. Can you handle that one at least if you're not going to do the writing, the authoring stuff? Okay. All right, I'll let them know. Okay, yeah, bye. Hey, so guess what? The Winds of Winter is not coming out in November or December this year. So we're going to move right on to the next book. And that next book is something you guys, the BellTube community, did in our community tab. And in all fairness, I didn't give you guys a lot of time. I just put this poll up about 36 hours ago, and there's already, as of the time that I'm filming this, about 320 votes. And you guys voted in The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wong for the community book for November. So yes, I will be reading this book. It has been on the TBR, kind of languishing for a while. You guys are pulling it right back into my forefront vision. It's gonna be one of the first books that I hit in the month of November. I'm pretty excited. By the way, the second place and the third place votes were very close, and I want to read those books too. So those may fall into December, more likely into January, but don't think I'm ignoring you if you voted for the one that came in second or the one that came in third, because they're both awesome. And you guys are pretty close on that. If you want to see the final results of the poll, it is in the community tab. All you got to do is be a subscriber and you get to vote every month. All right, let's move on to the next book. All right, now this next book is something that I purchased, I think back in May, and it was exactly the size of a book that works really well into the November TBR, and that is going to be Dune Messiah, Frank Herbert. All right, so I don't know anything about Dune Messiah. I loved the book Dune. If you've watched this channel, you know I rate it very, very highly, at the top, or if not the top, probably number one or number two in my sci-fi reading. But why haven't I gotten to Dune Messiah? I don't know. I do weird things. But yeah, Dune Messiah coming up in November. I can't wait to talk to some of you guys about this because I know you're huge Dune fans. And I don't think that Dune Messiah is going to let me down. I've heard that once you get past about book 4, it gets a little sketchy. Maybe it's not even Frank Herbert's stuff, but I'm fired up for this one. Let's move on to the next book. So this next book, I'm actually reading book 1 of this trilogy right now, and that's The Shadow of the Gods, because you guys voted it in last month in September for this month, October's TBR. So what am I going to do? Of course, I'm going to do book 2 in November, thanks to Heidi, one of our amazing patrons, who sent me this book, The Hunger of the Gods, by John Gwynne. Apparently, The Shadow of the Gods wasn't enough. These are some hungry gods, and I'm going to learn all about them. Don't know what the Bloodsworn's about. I only started reading book 1 last night, and I only had time to read 1 chapter. So, I mean, I guess so far so good for as much as 10 pages of the trilogy that I've read. But here we go. The Hunger of the Gods, coming up in November. Let's move on to the next book. Of course, in November, we must have some LitRPG on the TBR. Now, this one has been sort of languishing too for a couple of different reasons. I won't bore you with the details, but on audio this month in November, I am absolutely going to be listening to He Who Fights with Monsters by Shirtaloon, narrated by Heath Miller. I can't wait to see what Jason and the rest of the gang get up to in He Who Fights with Monsters number 11. Now, if you have not read He Who Fights with Monsters at all, and you're curious about it, hit me up in the comments. I'm happy to answer some questions. We're already at book 11, so I'm not going to put any spoilers in the comments, but if you just want some generalities about it and you don't feel like going back through the BellTube catalog and finding out where I put it in the first place, which, by the way, that reminds me, that's a great idea. The channel's almost a year old. If you haven't seen all of our episodes, the BellTube catalog is still in season 1. There's all kinds of content there for you. But anyway, He Who Fights with Monsters number 11, it's coming up in November. Let's move on to the next book. And this next book is also going to be on audio. It is The Primal Hunter number 2 by the author Zogarth. This may have been one of my biggest surprises of the year. I think in December I'll make a video of the best surprises of the year and the worst surprises of the year. And I suspect that the Primal Hunter series, which is LitRPG, is going to wind up on my best surprises list of this year. I don't know where I was because they're already on book 9, I think, of this series. But yeah, book 1, fantastic. Can't wait to get to book 2. As many series go, and in particularly LitRPG, you really start to fall in love with the series after you get through the initial book because you become aware more of who the characters are, what the world is like, how magic works, all these details that we spend so much time in book 1 sort of learning. Now we get to explore them in the subsequent books. So the Primal Hunter 2, I'm fired up for it. It's going to happen in November. Let's move on to December. Okay, now the only book in December that I'm not revealing right now is because we have to do another community poll in November for a December read. So this is going to be a pretty specific list of what I've got lined up for December, with the caveat that there is going to be another book added based on you guys, the BellTube community. So I'm going to get the easy one out of the way for December. Yes, I will be reading Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. I believe it comes out somewhere in the first week of December. If there's a few days before that, I'm going to cram in one of these other books prior to it. So I give myself a good 2-ish weeks or so to complete this 1,500-page tome. Does this book need to be so long? I guess we'll read and find out. I certainly didn't think Rhythm of War needed to be as long as it was. I'm not even sure Oathbreaker needed to be as long as it was, but he's the artist. I'm just the guy who reads and appreciates the books and shares my thoughts, here on YouTube. But yeah, I'm going to be reading Wind and Truth. I am really hoping it is a successful conclusion to the first arc of Stormlight Archives. And I say that because Brandon Sanderson himself has very famously said he's going to take 8 to 10 years off before writing book number 6 of a 10-booked planned series. Now, if you take a look at my beard, you see that there is some silver, there is some gray, there's a little bit left of dark. I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit. But if we're talking another 20-ish years or so, maybe even 25 or 30 years before this entire Stormlight archive is all done at 10 books, well, let's just say I'm hoping I'll still be able to be around and let alone make a YouTube channel. But I don't know. For me, this could be the end of my Stormlight journey. I don't know exactly where I'm going to be in 10 years. If I pick up book 6 by then, I guess we'll see. But for now, Book 5, Wind and Truth. I will be reading it in December. Let's move on to the next book. So December is also a very magical month, not just for the holidays, but it happens to be the quarterly gathering of the Quilluminati. Yes, the Quilluminati, the Society of Book Readers, including myself, Philip Chase, Mike from Mike's Book Reviews, and John from Talking Story. All right, we are reading The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell for our Quilluminati quarterly read. That was pretty easy to say. I'm kind of impressed with myself on that one. Anyway, I'll put the graphic up here right now because I don't have a physical copy. I'll probably be reading it on ebook. But yeah, the only thing I know about this at all is I've heard a million people say Uhtred, son of Uhtred. That's it. Not read any of the books, obviously. I've not seen the TV show. Nothing. As far as Quilluminati goes, I am the most blind to this story of the four of us. I believe Philip may have read this book like 30 years ago, doesn't remember it at all. I think Mike and John have seen the TV show but never read the book. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation that's going to happen right here on BellTube because I am the host of the Quilluminati get-together for this quarter in December. So of course, The Last Kingdom is on the TBR for December. Let's move on to the next book. So as I think about what kind of book could I fit in before Wind and Truth comes out, I can easily fit in a novella, no problem, and the perfect one for it is going to be The Gallant by Janny Wurts. Yes, this is the prequel novella to her giant series, The Wars of Light and Shadow, that I am starting in January along with my friend John from Talking Story and a bunch of other booktubers that are all going to be on camera. I think I'll let John kind of announce who they are because he's the one that reached out to most of them. But yeah, The Gallant, I understand, takes place very far in the past to where book 1, Curse of the Mistwraith, starts. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it basically sets up the background of the universe that we are going to be journeying into. The Gallant, Janny Wurts starting in December. Sounds like a plan to me. Let's move on to the next book. And of course, we're doing some more audio as well in December. Now, this one is going to be book 3 in a series that I have only sight read so far. But my pal Tori Tekken over at Tori Talks has convinced me to do Feet of Clay, which is book 3 of the City Watch in Discworld on audio, of course, by Sir Terry Pratchett. Tori claims that the narrator is fabulous and that there's actually additional voice actors within the audio production and that I need to listen to it. Underline, 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 need to listen to it. So Tori, this one is for you. I am going to listen to Feet of Clay by Sir Terry Pratchett as I continue my Discworld journey, as I continue the City Watch mini arc within Discworld. It's fantastic. I'm just a huge fan. I'm glad I'm going to have time in December. Let's move on to the next book. This is assuming that I like The Primal Hunter 2 reading in November. I'm going to come back, bang, go right at book 3, The Primal Hunter number 3 by Zogarth in the month of December. I can't go a month without LitRPG, you guys, and in the month of December that I've talked about so far, there isn't any, so we have to throw some in there. It is a rule of this channel. I don't know. I don't even know who makes the rules here. You guys let me know in the comments who makes the rules here, and then I'll know who makes the rules here. Anyway, I'm fired up for Zogarth's book. The Primal Hunter is really good. I really do like the audio narrator a lot for the Primal Hunter series. So yeah, count on me reading it and coming back to you with my thoughts in December of the Primal Hunter. And that's going to get me to the one for the road today. I can't believe we're already at one for the road. I just talked about 2 months of the books, and now we are getting into one for the road. All right, I want to talk about managing expectations, not only of ourselves, but our expectations of other people. And I know sometimes, particularly around the holiday seasons, everybody's stress level kind of goes up a little bit. And, you know, I think it's kind of opposite of what it's supposed to be, yet we do live in the real world, and sometimes stressors really hit us hard around this holiday season in November and December, these months that I'm talking about here today on the video. So expectations, the expectations we hold on ourselves, I'm going to get to more in another video. I want to share a little bit about expectations on others and to not make them either overly ambitious and being let down, and also to not be overly cynical and say, well, I can't count on this person to do fill in the blank, so I'll just do it myself. I think as we get older and as we mature and as we grow as people, it's not unfair to, if you're having cynical feelings about having an expectation of somebody else, to be honest about it and say, hey, I want to tell you what you can realistically expect out of me. And in return, I would like you to tell me what I can realistically expect out of you. Then you got a great starting point, right? You're not starting off already thinking, oh, this just isn't going to work because, you know, I've got such a history with this person, and you have this cynical mindset going on. You also don't have this overly, oh, they'll do anything for me so I can take advantage of it. I think it levels the playing field just a little bit when you can have an honest conversation with friends or family and say, hey, this is what I'm willing to do. Tell me what you're willing to do so we meet each other's expectations. Maybe we even exceed them. That would be great, but we don't get down based on somebody else not meeting our expectations, and that then adding stress to an already potentially stressful season. I hope that makes some sense. It makes more sense as I think about it than as I kind of verbalize it. But if you've watched this channel enough, you probably have an understanding of what I mean by this. I sure hope so. So what I would like to know is a couple of things. One, what's your plan for reading in November? No, you don't have to give me your entire rest of the year yet. I'm doing that. You don't have to. But if you want to, you certainly can. But in the comments below, let me know what you're planning to read for November. Let me know if you have any tips or tricks for the BellTube community when it comes to managing expectations, because that's really what we are here, is a community, and it's not just books. I've never wanted BellTube to only be about books. I think by now, if you've been around the channel enough, you know I like to explore all kinds of topics, but books are really the connector between us as a community. It's kind of the best thing. I love it. So let me know what your thoughts are on the video. I've got some really cool videos coming up for November and December. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to make these TBR videos a little bit less often, because we've got some amazing stuff coming up, you guys. All right, stay positive, everybody. And of course, like we always do, here's your fortune.